you have to understand how government works. You have to understand the ranks, but then you have to realize that you can go from uppercase P to lowercase p in the matter of a door swing.
All right, 1, 2, 3, and all right. So Short Circuit, a little spinoff of the Circuit podcast at which me, Elijah Shaw, because I'm never around, I'm going to do my own little mini podcast. And I decided that I could, since I'm doing a podcast, I could bring my friends up. And so today we have a guest, which is Ray Buford. He's a guy that I've known for a few years now. He works in law enforcement, but also as a protector. And what I wanted to kind of talk to him today about is the politics of protection. And we'll get into exactly what I mean by that or what he means by that, because I got that term from him. But first, like we always do, I've got 3 questions for you, Ray. They're rapid fire questions. You don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about them, but whatever just comes to mind, just throw it out there. Okay, brother?
All right, let's get it.
All right, got it. So my first one is, what's one thing you wish you could change about the industry?
One thing I wish I could change about the industry. Woo.
See, I told you they were easy questions, bro.
Wow, I guess I would say the egos that you run into sometimes.
Fair enough, bro. I get that. Okay. So this one here is, what's one thing you love about the industry?
I love the how you are dealing with taking care of the person that everybody sees. So it's like, I really love being the man behind the man.
Okay. The responsibility that comes with that. And the fact that you're built for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough, bro. And then this one here, again, it's a little bit offbeat, but I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. But name a person, past or present, living or dead, that you would have loved or will love to have provided protective services to.
First person that comes to my mind is Robert Kennedy.
Okay. All right.
I would have loved to work his detail.
Wow. Okay. I've got some really interesting answers all over the board for that. Let's put a pin in that. One day we're going to come back to that conversation and dig in deeper.
For sure.
All right, my brother. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning with my super brief introduction, and the reason I try and keep these introductions brief is because I feel like people learn about a person not by just hearing their bio, but just listening to them be a subject matter expert in the area that they know. And that's how a person learns. So it's not like I can tell you like all these things about me. It just comes out in the conversation. So, but what I do want to share with the audience is the fact that I mentioned that you're in law enforcement. And so how long had you been on the force?
It'll be 22 years in February. So I've been around for a little bit.
Yo, that's amazing, brother.
Yeah. So I've been hanging on.
Got you. So chart the progression for me now. You started off where, and then you ended up where?
So I started off as a police officer in the 8th precinct on Detroit Police Dept.
Okay.
And just like every rookie, working patrol on the mean streets of Detroit. And from there, I worked various aspects of patrol, from regular patrol to special operations would, equate to like the guys that wear plain clothes. And in that special operations, you kind of, you did everything from drug enforcement, to weapon enforcement, to vice operations, just a plethora of things. So and then from there, as I began to get a little longer in the tooth, I early on I developed a interest in protection. And then as I grew longer in the tooth, I realized that we had a unit on the department like that, and so that's when my interest started to grow, and I started to look into it and started to pour into it, until I eventually made it to the protection unit. And from there, here I sit today.
Got it. That's wonderful, bro. So you saw this role and said, hey, I want to be a part of that team.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. I was a patrol officer assigned out to a detail. And at that time, it was when John Kerry was running for president. And so he came through Michigan, and he had a stop in Detroit at one of our large convention centers. And, and I'm just there. I probably had about 2, 3, 4 years on, and I'm just looking at, all the different pieces and stuff like that. And then the mayor of the city came in, and I'm like, okay, now what are they doing? And so that day I went to the inspector who was in charge of the mayor's detail that day. And I said, sir, I would like to work on your unit. And he looked me right in the eye and he said, son, you don't even know what we do. And I looked him back in the eye and I said, I can learn. And we just started going,
Wonderful.
From there.
Yep. Okay. So now if we jump forward, you referenced the mayor's detail. That's a detail that you're on right now.
Yes. Yep. I'm on the mayor's detail for the city of Detroit. And I've been on this detail for the last 8 years.
Wow.
And 6 of those years, I've been the officer in charge. And actually, when I first met you down in Grand Junction, Colorado,
right,
I had just got the promotion to lead the detail. And it was just like, oh man, I had black hair and all that stuff.
I remember those conversations, but one thing that I remember about that time was you were a sponge, and any new information, I watched you and you absorbed that information and you processed that and put that through a filter to see how you could use that on your protective details. And I remember saying, I think it's one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on as a guest here is because I think you still have that discipline. Am I right with this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really love just looking at the different aspects of protection and then just kind of branching that out to how it can affect or you be used on the detail that I'm on now. When I came down to the training down there in Grand Junction, one of the complications I had come across when trying to get funding for it, they was like, well, the name of this course is Celebrity Protection and Behavior Intelligence. Well, you're not protecting a celebrity. What my Sergeant Williams, she is dear to my heart. She worded it in a way to where I was able to make it down there. But, digging deeper into that, I had no idea that the portion of anatomy of the red carpet, how it would translate further down the road to my protectee, who's not a celebrity, and lo and behold, some years later, many have seen the movie Detroit.
Right.
It was a red carpet in the city of Detroit, Fox Theater. We had some people, some of the people that was in the communications and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, how are we going to do that? And I was just like right at home, like I trained for this. They told me this was going to happen. I'm looking at the tags on the floor. I know where to stand for the cameras. And it was just, it just came full circle.
But here's that piece, as I was listening to you, they said, okay, hey, the person that you're protecting isn't a celebrity, but I'm watching movements, both up close and afar. And the same thing, challenges that a quote unquote celebrity has, your protectee has at times. And how you navigate that is taking, again, these fundamentals of protection, whether they're protection of corporate executives or private families or celebrities, and applying it. And what you've called it is the politics of protection. I got that right?
Yes, the politics of protection.
So tell me what that is.
So the politics of protection is something that I learned over the years on this detail.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you a quick story. I was new on the detail, and I had went with my protectee to what I would call a power lunch. And this power lunch was kind of two-tiered. It had a program in the front and then the lunch to follow, right? And so they go through the program and, they come out and all these, everybody's important in their own right.
Sure.
Everybody exits and they're going, the lunch is on another floor. And so my protectee goes to the elevator and he just jumps on. So now he jumps on with other, important people.
Sure.
And so what do I do? Well, all you guys got to get off, or something like that, So naturally I jump on with them. So I'm new and my chest is wide and I'm standing there and the elevator is closing, and then bam, a hand comes in. And so, I'm ready to pop into action.
Sure.
So it's a smaller guy and he's there and he's like, you got room for one more? And all these thoughts are going through my head, probably about 5 seconds, but no, sir, there is no room for one more. Take the next elevator. Whatever we would say as a protectee.
Sure.
And just as I'm about to utter the words, my protectee from behind me said, sure, there's room for the CEO of the building that I was in. So,
right.
excuse me. He gets on. But the politics of the protection is, what if I had told him, no, sir,
sure,
take the other elevator?
Right.
And what if they had a business deal in the making that could have caused a strain or a short rift with, for your protectee and essentially the city of Detroit? So the politics of protection is just really talking about how to navigate these different spaces and mitigate these different circumstances to make sure your protectee is safe, physically and brand wise.
Sure. So it's more than just drop kicks and firearms. It's great to have those skills.
Yes, sir.
But there's a piece which is, we talk about the fine art of negotiation. We talk about verbal judo. Like those are the things that you find yourself put into play if I'm speaking for you.
Absolutely. And we all love to get down and clear rooms and work in the arts of jiu-jitsu or boxing or whatever we're into. But far more than anything, you will use those soft skills or the politics to make sure that the job is done.
So, again, I love that term that you say, and it's almost got a double meaning in your case, because you're protecting a politician who has to, they have an agenda, and there are going to be people that are pro that agenda, and there are going to be people that are anti that agenda. But regardless of which stance the constituents are on, the image and the brand is important. And you, as that person, as you mentioned at the beginning, that person that's behind the person, you have to always keep that in mind. Am I correct?
Absolutely. So, while working for a politician, you essentially become a politician yourself.
Sure. Okay.
Right. And so one of the greatest things, well, not the greatest, but a good compliment my protectee paid to me one time. He was with another high person, and then they were going through this venue, and the person noticed that they didn't have a ticket to get in. And he turns to him, my guy turns to him and says, "Don't worry, Ray can get us in." Ray can get us in anywhere, but it's because I've learned that the negotiating and realizing that you're going through other people's spaces and how to pull people in and make them a part of your team really goes into how you navigate those spaces, and not only do it go into how you navigate those spaces, but you'll be there 20 times over.
Right.
Sure. And
so
they
just
will
establishing
remember
that relationship.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You establish those relationships. You show yourself competent and you give and you take and those things. And it really helps you and, in the overall job.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. You touched on it here, and I thought about it when you were originally telling the elevator story. Again, maybe centering this conversation in that realm of politics. You've got a VIP, but oftentimes or many times, your particular protectee isn't the only VIP. And, there's levels to this depending on where you're at. How do you navigate that space? How do you travel in a circle where your VIP is the number one person to you? However, they might be in a space with, the VP, the president. How are you moving? What's your mindset? What's your thought process?
So first of all, as a protectee or a protector in that atmosphere, you have to understand how government works. So you have to understand how it works. You have to understand the ranks, and things like that. But then you have to realize that you can go from uppercase key to lowercase key.
All right.
in the matter of a door swing. So, like many of our conversations I've had numerous opportunities to work inside the bubble, be it the vice president, or be it the president. So, and with that comes Secret Service. And so, it's a lot of more take or
we say give and take. There's a lot more.
It's a lot more than the give with the Secret Service. But you'll notice that those same faces with the Secret Service, those same faces with the White House staff tend to be at those different events.
Sure.
And so with that, now you establish the rapport to where you start fitting in their guidelines. And then while you're fitting in their guidelines, you're starting to check off the list. And just in my experience, I found that when dealing with the White House staff, when dealing with the Secret Service, the more competent you show yourself,
right,
the more space they give you, because they got so much going on with the movements of the president and the picture line and making sure they meet with this person and that person. You ushering your protectee around their environment helps them.
Right. As long as you know what you're doing.
As long as you know what you're doing, and I even had a situation where I don't know if people across the nation has heard, here in Detroit, we had some really, bad rains over the last month.
Okay.
And it caused the city to flood. But in that, my guy met with the president of the United States to secure FEMA funding. And just in, those things, I was asked to get a picture of my guy discussing the FEMA funding and stuff with the president. And if you know the Secret Service, if you're not a White House photographer, you're not snapping any pictures.
Right.
And so that was one time where I just had to bite down and tell my guy, well, sir, and tell his communication, well, sir, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Right.
And in not doing that, when they come back to town again, I'll be able to go in those spaces
Sure.
and navigate instead of, okay, here's the guy that snuck the picture.
Right.
Wait outside the door and your guy will come out when he's done.
So this is what you're saying when you say the politics of protection.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not there anymore, you can't provide that protection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just imagine, it was the news broke that the president declared it a major disaster. And I even learned that, just declaring it a disaster outside of declaring it a major disaster releases different levels of funding.
Okay.
But just imagine if I was in there, doing something against what they told me they didn't want me to do. And then I was not able to get my piece to that meeting. And then overall now, the city is without the funding that they needed.
Sure.
You get what I mean? So
absolutely.
All those politics, it all just intertwines, and it's really a vital piece of the puzzle.
So, I love where you're going with this, because it's understanding the protectee's mission.
Yes.
And then you start trying to figure out how you can fit into that equation in order to, safely and securely get them where they need to be.
Absolutely.
But you can't, you can't do that if you're not around. If you don't have that clearance, if you've got a reputation as a troublemaker, or if or a bully or a bogart, or all those types of things. So there's two types of politics happening: the protectees and your own.
Absolutely, because if you're around there bullying and trying to, be still faced and stuff like that, you'll be just like Morgan Freeman said, and lean on me in the parking lot.
There's a reference.
So you really have to really, be able to flow and to network and to politic in order to be able to navigate these spaces.
Wow, that's great. I think about, I spent a big, as a big part of my day, in the celebrity space. And part of what comes with that is a massive itinerary. Some of it is adhered to, and some of it gets thrown out the window, and, the protectee is going to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I feel like the apparatus is the same in the space that you work in.
Yeah.
And so then my question to you is, when things change in that type of arena, how do you make the adjustment? Because it's not just you making the adjustment, right? There's a number of other factors involved in that.
Yeah. So the number one thing, and being able to navigate those itinerary changes is having a good team around you. And I have a really, really good team of protectors, around me that they flow and they move and they're ready at a moment's notice. And not only that, just working together for the years that we have, they understand a lot of the same things that I understand. But here's an important part of navigating that itinerary and how it changes daily like that is, as a protector, now you have to extend your training outwardly. And when I say outwardly, now you start to train the admins and the executive assistants.
Got it.
The department heads and those different people that are around the P. So, the communications director and stuff like that. And so now, before the change hits you, they know the change is coming.
Got it.
And so a lot of the times, even before the change hits the paper, they'll be knocked on my door, or they'll call my phone, or they'll shoot me a text and say, hey, this is about to happen. And so, and then not only that, they'll know and they'll be at the venue or something like that. And some of the things they'll even try to make themselves protectors also and try to secure some of the stuff that they've seen you secure.
Sure.
Now you might have to go behind them and say, okay, well, yep. Okay. That checks the box and okay. Yep. Right here and stuff like that. But when you start to create that network to where it isn't just the security team and then everybody else,
right?
Then you are really able to just gel and move forward as a team.
Yeah, those are great jewels. I get what you're saying. You've got force multipliers. You've got
absolutely. I like that. Yeah,
and it's because, going back to what you mentioned earlier, it's because of the relationships. Yep. Nobody is going to help you if they don't want to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So once they're on your team, then you can get that assist.
Yeah. And then you let them know you appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We have a running joke with some of the people in my office. How you wear the detail pen,
right?
And some of the admins, hey man, I'm waiting on my pen, and hey, I got you, man. Your pen is coming,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And so they understand. That even goes into intelligence, about different things that's going on to where your P might be in that space, and you look up at midnight and you have a text of a Facebook post that came across their desk way before it come across yours, and they raise their ear and they're like, let me send this to Ray. And then next thing you know, it turns into a good workup to where, either it's an investigation or it's a cancellation, or something like that. So when you really start to just extend those things outwards, outwardly politicking, then, you really start to build a strong team.
That makes perfect sense. So I got to ask you, and if this is too touchy a subject, we'll just cut it out.
Okay.
Okay. But, you're in a political environment and you have been for quite some time now. And so that you would be blind not to see how polarizing politics has become over the last couple of years. And one of the things that I noticed in the last few years is that protectors have felt the need to draw a line in the sand, meaning, just looking at their social media or listening to some of their commentary, you understand all of their individual personal politics. Whereas before, things seemed to be a little bit more neutral. Before, I remember when people used to talk about us and we would say, hey, we could protect anyone, or you know what I mean? It doesn't matter who the client is. Now it seems like you can't necessarily say that, because how can you protect, a member of this political party when your views are so defined in opposition to it? And so I guess my question to you is, do you see that? How do you navigate that? What's your opinion on that? And again, if it's too sensitive, we can just skip over this one.
I see it a lot, and sometimes even on my detail, it becomes a challenge for me, myself. I pride myself in being able to take that tough assignment and to be able to, how do you protect a person that believes different than you? But another reference I heard, Coach Herm Edwards, when he used to be on ESPN, and he would talk about social media.
Okay.
And he would always say, if you have to think about it, don't press send.
Yeah, that's a great one. Right.
And a lot of things, social media is just such a monster that you really have to be very careful in what you put on there, because at the end of the day, it's not going to call your name. It's going to call the name of who you work for.
Sure.
And then, just in my position, defund the police and and those different things. So you even have to be conscious
Right.
of those spaces and how you are presented there, because they'll take your position as a police officer and turn it towards your protectee, with an action you take. So
Sure.
just imagine yourself being out with your protectee, and then you have to take action, and you're out here, just really just going in on somebody. You don't think that's going to turn into a police brutality,
right,
type subject? So it's so much that you have to think of, not only for your protectee, but you as a protector in this political environment that, you have to try to foresee a lot of those situations before they happen.
Got it. So you're thinking about it, including the potential ramifications. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Because a lot of people take protectors as, the first thing they'll say to you is, you'll take a bullet for that
Sure.
person.
Sure.
And they only think, of that aspect of it. But in the meantime, one action that you do can cause your protectee won't die by a handgun, but he'll die 1,000 deaths by media.
Wow.
So you really have to, you're really protecting deaths,
right,
in both
right.
arenas.
Sure, sure. No, I as I listen to you, I see these reoccurring themes, and again, we're going to title this episode "The Politics of Protection," and so all of your moves have to be calculated because they have ramification or potential ramifications that could extend outside of you. It could extend outside of the detail itself. And it could have these repercussions for the protectee that don't have anything to do with them physically being harmed.
Absolutely. So just in this environment today of protesting, and then taking the different politicians and things like that, naturally they're going to have to show support. And in some, they even take the initiative to walk in the protest.
Right.
So now they're there, so you're there.
Right.
So now how do you have your P walk in that protest safely, physically, but then how do you have them walk in that protest safely, image-wise?
Right. Right.
So, in those protests, a lot of people have a lot of different alternate agendas.
Sure.
And so you can come in that space and your protectee can be there. And then a controversial person whose views are totally different from your protectee is there. But just in the courtesy of them both being there, they pass by each other and, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. And they shake hands, and then,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You're on the front page as supporting this other person's cause.
Right. Right.
So it's just so many mental gymnastics that you have to play. And then even in that, and you see that moment coming like, oh man, he don't to shake that person's hand. Now as a protector, how do you get them to avoid that handshake without
it looking like
child, right? You know what I'm saying? A backflip, So it gets really complicated, but I really enjoy, the chess match of it all.
And that'll take me to that last piece of that, which is, and again, I know you personally, you enjoy what you do. You find a sense of satisfaction, but it's a lot of work.
It is.
Is this, you just hardwired for this? Is this just because you were fulfilling that that dream you had where you said, "Hey, I'm going to be on this detail," and now you're there? Like, what's the motivator now? Because you've got what you wanted.
Yeah. The motivating factor, besides just being safe and getting you and your protectee home safely every night, is just you just don't like to fail. And so, and in that, you just you don't like to be surprised at different things like that. So you just constantly looking for things that'll make you better, or things that'll help throughout the day, for you to really just ultimately, succeed, in the goal. Some protectors like to just go 9 to 5.
Right.
But for me, I found that, if you really want to be worth your salt, it's definitely not a 9 to 5 job.
Wonderful, bro. Well, I can attest that you are a student of the game. You didn't skip steps, and you are actively working to better yourself for your craft, even though you achieved a high level of quote unquote success in terms of in the field. So I salute you, bro. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I appreciate you. Looking forward to us catching up in person real soon.
Yes, sir. This was wonderful, man. This is wonderful.
No,
go ahead, sir.
I was gonna say, just thank you for your time. I'm glad we got a chance to connect over here on the short circuit, and I support you in all your endeavors.
Man, great opportunity. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Ray.
You have been listening to the Circuit Magazine podcast. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to not miss an episode.